Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advance. This game was played in 2018 Tal Memorial. With the white pieces, we have one of the most amazing players of all time. We have Daniil Dubov, plays spectacular chess. And on the black side, we have here world number 2, we have Hikaru Nakamura. So you know this game is going to be one epic one. So without further ado, let's start with this game. Daniel starts with c4. We have knight to f6, knight to c3, and e6. We're going for the Akinko defense. We have e4, d5, and just e5. So it's something with floor variation, but names are unnecessary. Here, just d4 now, and both players now have to actually get rid of their knights. E captures, d captures, and now just b captures. We have queen captures on f6, and now very nice central thrust by Daniel. We have d4, and now e5, trying to break this formation and maybe just open up the king side. But now just knight to f3, we have knight to c6, and you could go for a move like d5 immediately, trying to take control of so many squares in the center. But after knight to b8, most likely here bishop to e2, bishop to d6, and castles, and bishop to e3. And I think black and white are both fine. Both players have equal material, and somewhere along the line, I mean, you're going to develop, and the position is going to be very much easy. But here just bishop to e2 was played. Now just preparing to castle, and in that line I've been, it was a slight advantage, but Hikaru would have gotten some sort of advantage here. So you don't want to give too much, because you're just trading central space with some advantage that you're giving to black, and you don't want to do that. You never want to do that to Hikaru. Here just e captures was played, but just bishop to g5, first attacking the queen, queen to g6, and now just castle, sacrificing another pawn by Daniel. So Daniel has sacrificed one pawn. Now he's giving two to Hikaru, and Hikaru says happily that, well, thank you very much. D captures, and now just bishop to d3 was played. But you have to understand that the king is still in the center. Your pieces are not developed, and here Daniel is definitely playing like Tal. Here just queen to d6 was played, but now just comes rook to e1 check, bishop to e7, but now just comes c5, attacking the queen. You cannot move away from the defense of the bishop, otherwise you're just going to lose some material. So here queen captures on c5 was played, just keeping an eye on the bishop and not worrying about it but too much. But here just bishop captures, we have knight captures, rook to e5, attacking the queen, queen to d6, and just going for bishop to b5 check. And how do you approach this position? You could go for a move like bishop to d7 blocking, but after bishop captures, queen captures, and king captures, you lose your castling privileges. And once the rook gets into the game, you have to understand you have connected the rooks, but the rooks are not that much developed. Yes, you're up 2 pawns, but the position is definitely very, very good for Daniel. So somewhere like this, and the position would be really, really good for white. And you're gonna have to go back, and yeah, it's not a good position to have. But even the trouble with going back is I can just double up, and you're gonna lose the piece. So maybe with the move like king to c6, you have to part ways with the knight. And once the knight is captured, you have to understand that yes, you have a pass pawn, yes, you have decent compensation for the sacrificed knight, but is it enough? Well, the time will tell, because here after bishop to b5, king to f8 was played, not going for any of these craziness. Here just queen to e2, and now just f6, asking the rook to be moved, but just rook to d1, attacking the queen. And he just f captures, sacrificing the queen. Now Hikaru, and saying that I have enough compensation, I don't need to worry about that queen. But just knight captures on e5, not even taking the queen here in this position. Bishop to f5 was played, but just rook captures on d6, finally going for that queen. C captures, knight to d7 check, king moves, and now just queen to c4 check. So Hikaru had sacrificed the queen. He has a very strong pass pawn, and now it's looking very, very bleak here in this position. Bishop to e6 was played, but now just comes queen to f4 check, knight to f5, and now just going for g4. You're going to lose that piece no matter what you do. So in this position, the best move, absolute best move, I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try and find out this only move in this position. So have at it. So congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. The move is c2, with the idea of promoting, and yes, there is nothing you could do. If you go for g captures in this position, then just comes bishop captures on d7, bishop captures, and there is again only one move in this position that saves you, which is this rook, not a, but rook h to c8. There is a difference between rook a to c8 and rook h to c8, because after bishop captures, rook captures, you have to play queen to c1. Your queen is just completely trapped here, and somewhere along the line you can just bring in the king. And yes, that pass pawn is a bit too strong. But even if you go for this in a different way, let's say you go rook a to c8, rook a to c8 completely blunders the game, because now bishop to e6 check, king moves, and here queen to g5 check, and here bishop is controlling a lot of those squares, queen is controlling a lot of those squares. You cannot come forward, you're going to have to go back, and once you go back, that rook is disconnected. And once the rook is disconnected, here just bishop captures on c8, and now you've just lost a complete rook. I'm controlling the queening square still, and there is nothing you can do in this position. The position is completely lost. So c2 was the best move that Hikaru could have played in this position. But in this position, Hikaru actually blunders after g4. Here, rook a to d8 was tried, but rook a to d8 just completely blunders the game, and Daniil takes absolute advantage of this. He goes for g captures on f5, and we have bishop captures, and now just bishop to c4 check. d5 now, but d5 doesn't work. Bishop captures on d5. We have king to f6, queen to d6 check, king moves, and now just bishop to c4. So the pass pawn still cannot be pushed, and unfortunately, the position is very, very bad for Hikaru. A rook h3 8 was tried, but just bishop to d3 check, king moves, and now just going for h4 check, king to h5, and you can see that the king is going on a nice king walk. Queen to g3 was tried, but now just comes this bishop to g4. But after f3, here you have to move the bishop back. Rook to d4 was tried to try and survive. If you take now, just rook captures and you lose your queen. So here just king to f2 was tried, but now just c2. And here in this position, Daniil absolutely finishes in style. He goes for bishop captures on c2, and there is nothing you can do. There is no check you can give. There is no captures. There is nothing you can take other than all you can do in this position is resign. Here Hikaru tries one last attempt. Rook to f8 was played, but unfortunately it was also on this move, on just move 36, that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game, and Daniil got this spectacular victory against world number 2 in just 36 moves. Well, why he resigned? Well, the question answer is very, very simple. You have a very nice check in this position, which is this queen to e5 check, very nicely connecting with the rook. And yes, you can, once you lose the rook, there is nothing in the position. Yes, you can give a silly little check, but other than that, it does nothing. And yes, that's why it's the reason that he resigned the game. And Daniil Dubov, I mean, played like an absolute magician in the Tal Memorial and completely honored Tal and played the spectacular game. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned to the channel, stay updated, and I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon. Thank you all for watching.